Hello again, and a warm welcome from my holy cell here in the south of England. So today we're going to be discussing who are the sons of God in the book of Job. In my stated translating targets of accuracy, clarity and literariness, we'll be considering particularly today literariness, something that is very rarely discussed. And from the translating laws, internal harmony and logic and research. So Yahweh spoke to Job out of the whirlwind. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you know. Who laid its measurements? Surely you know. Or who has stretched a measuring line across it? On what are its sockets sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Usually I capitalise sons in the phrase sons of God, but not here. Why? The phrase sons of God is a frequent expression in the Bible. Hosea 1:10 speaks of sons of the living God. In Exodus 4:22, Yahweh says, Israel is my son. Deuteronomy 14:1, you are sons to Yahweh your God. And in the New Testament, Luke 6:35, you will be sons of the Most High. John 1:12, authority to become sons of God. Romans 8:14, these are the sons of God. 8:16, we are the sons of God. Romans 8:19, waiting for the revealing of the sons of God. Romans 8:21, the glory of the sons of God. 9:26, they will be called sons of the living God, quoting Hosea. 2 Corinthians 6:18, you will be my sons and daughters. Galatians 3:26, you are sons of God through faith in Jesus Christ. 1 John 3:1, we should be called sons of God. 1 John 5:2, in this we know that we love the sons of God, when we love God and keep his commandments. And Jesus is of course referred to as the Son of God. Romans 1:4, declared the Son of God with power. 1 John 5:5, who is the one overcoming the world, if not the one believing that Jesus is the Son of God, etc. Then Genesis chapter 6 verse 1, where the narrative begins about the flood in the days of Noah. Everybody would understand that sons of God and daughters of God elsewhere refer to God's redeemed people. Why then, when it is understood exactly what they are everywhere else, do you get told that at Genesis 6:1 those sons of God are fallen angels? Exodus, Deuteronomy, Hosea, Luke, John, Paul say they are the redeemed people of God, and Jesus is the Son of God. So why not at Genesis 6:1? Where do they get fallen angels from? Why the switch? Why are these not also God's people? How could they be sons of God if they are fallen angels? Why can they not be God's people going into the daughters of men and the Nephilim people? The Nephilim reappear at Numbers 13:33 as the sons of Anak, human flesh. Strange how the Nephilim were there before the flood and there again afterwards, because it says in Genesis that they were on the land in those days and also after that. That says something about the nature of the flood, does it? So the sons of God at Genesis 6:1 are the people of God of the Adamic race who went astray, just as Paul says in Romans 1:31 that Israel went astray, and he describes all their immoralities and rebellions and calls them covenant breakers, Romans 1:31. And surely these people, the sons of God in the time of Noah, were also covenant breakers. So into Job, chapter 1 verse 6 and chapter 2 verse 1. And why also, in the opening of Job, are you told that it was fallen angels in the assembly coming to present themselves before Yahweh? Where does this come from? Now there came a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before Yahweh. Again there came a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before Yahweh. It says it twice. Well, is that not exactly what Christian believers do? Assemble together to present themselves before Yahweh. Tell us then, what is the difference between sons of God here and sons of God in John 1 and in Romans 8, where we know they're redeemed people? Why are they called fallen angels? Why do we get this teaching? How can it be? Hebrews 10:5 tells us to not be forsaking the assembling together of ourselves. We are the sons of God who assemble together to present ourselves before Yahweh. And that is exactly what was happening in the days of Job. Those hating God do not assemble together to present themselves before God. They hate God. And God is hidden from them. If only they would present themselves to God. So the phrase sons of God is a proper noun phrase. It's a title like Prime Minister, President. It's a title of immense authority and privilege given by God. It's somebody created by God. We are not sons of God before we repent and are redeemed. Then we become sons of God and we're called a new creation. And Adam, who was created directly by God out of the dust, is called the Son of God. I think that's in Luke 3 in the genealogy. So Paul says, if you endure with him, you will reign with him. So reigning over all the earth with God and Christ. This is the authority. This is the privilege. The unrighteous do not have this. Paul says, you are not your own, that we are God's sons of God. So how can rebels be called sons of God? And Paul tells us in Romans 8 that the whole creation is groaning for the revealing of the sons of God. What a statement. And 1 John 3, verses 1 and 2, John says, what immense love the Father has given us, in that we should be called sons of God. On account of this, because the world does not know him, it does not know you. You richly loved, we are now sons of God, and it is not yet brought to light what we will be. We do know, however, that when he is brought to light, we will be like him, for we will be as he is. This is not granted to the righteous. They are not sons of God. In the Hebrew, Beni ha-Elohim, sons of Elohim. They, the rebels, are called sons of wickedness, and they do not stand before God, it says in Psalm 1. Oh yes, so it does. And they are even called sons of curse, and 2 Peter 2:14. And John says, in this the sons of God are brought to light, and the sons of the slanderer. That's what they are, sons of wickedness, sons of the slanderer, sons of curse. They are not sons of God. They are not Beni ha-Elohim. See how the righteous there are set in contrast to the sons of God. They are sons of the slanderer. What contrast to the righteous? 1 John 5:5. Who is the one overcoming the world, if not the one believing that Jesus is the Son of God? So those are sons of God who believe that Jesus is the Son of God. So do those mythical mystical fallen angels overcome the world by believing that Jesus is the Son of God? Is that why they are given a privileged title? Peter terms the righteous sons of obedience. They are sons of disobedience. They are not Beni Ha-Elohim. A son is a creation of God. We who believe are new creations. I became a new creation the 9th of December 1979. A son of God. So in the opening of Job, when the sons of God presented themselves before Yahweh, twice having assembled together, just because an adversary also came along to present himself before Yahweh, came along with them, does not mean that the rest of them were unrighteous. There is plenty of this sort of thing in the New Testament. Infiltrators. Paul warns against them in Galatians. Wouldn't listen to them for an hour. And in 1 John, he says that the Antichrist have gone out from among us. So this adversary was jealous of Job and despised him. He was bitter, and he longed to see Yahweh bring him down and test him. And so Yahweh agreed to the contract, and what a glorious ending it had for Job after an immense trial. So the sons of God assembling and presenting themselves before Yahweh, is that not what we do in Christian assemblies? In Genesis 6:1, we are told that these sons of God, those who present themselves before Yahweh, became unrighteous and went into the daughters of other peoples. When we are told that, we wreck all sense and logic and internal harmony if we call sons of God anything other than the people of God. Now, what about Job 38, verse 7? Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you know. Who laid its measurements? Surely you know. Or who has stretched a measuring line across it? On what are its sockets sunk, or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Why are you told that those who shouted for joy are fallen angels? What logic is that? Further, are those sons of God who shouted for joy when Yahweh laid the foundations of the earth also the redeemed people? Obviously not. They were not even there at the time of creation, were they? That is the entire point of Yahweh's reply to Job out of the whirlwind. He was not there. When he was creating the cosmos, nobody was there. So Yahweh asked Job these sarcastic questions and says, surely you know. You see these devices of irony in the Bible? The Apostle Paul often uses irony. So it cannot mean the redeemed people in Job 38:7, because there was no but human created. It must mean something else. This is the one single exception. Why? Let us ask the question, do morning stars sing? Do they sing together? Do they have vocal cords? Do stars sing? Do they have vocal organs? Well, some people talk of the music of the spheres, if there is such a thing, a beautiful phrase. But we do not hear the stars singing. So what does it mean? This is poetical. This is the language of poetical drama and nothing else. The book of Job is not ordinary journalism, nor a straightforward narrative recording. It's writing, literary writing, full of devices, dramatic devices, a highly sophisticated drama. The way the human characters speak is not the ordinary language of ordinary conversation. It's highly poeticized, like the dramas of Shakespeare, Does anybody in the world speak like the teenagers, Romeo and Juliet? Do teenagers ever speak like that? And in the play Macbeth, the porter at the gate, playfully pretending he's the porter at Hell's Gate. Knock, knock, who's there? Here's an equivocator. And actually that was referring to the Jesuit who's involved in the gunpowder plot. Anyway, this is poeticized drama, and so is the book of Job. Nobody speaks like this. All right, the words of Yahweh, we could accept that Yahweh could speak like this. Of course he could. But the men around them, I mean, this is written with no ums and ahs, no interruptions, nobody interrupting each other. We're given no locations. Where are they talking to each other? It's a poeticized drama, just like Shakespeare. This does not mean that the events are not true. And it's the same in the account of the flood, Genesis 6 and 7. The writer, whom I believe to be Moses, uses a device called polysyndeton. And this means a repetition of conjunctions. And the waters rose, and the heavens opened, and the boat floated, and. That's how it's written. And some translations have tried to put in full stops. And Dr. Robert Alter described it like schoolboy journalism. So, Job 31. Have a read through that. This repetition of if I did this. Job is saying if. It's a structured drama. And it's controlled. It's a literary drama. So then, the morning stars sang together is a figure of speech. Stars do not have vocal organs. It's personification, figure of speech, not literal, literary, but not literal. What of the next phrase? The sons of God shouted for joy. Now, Hebrew poetry, if you don't know, works by parallelism. And in one of the shelves right behind my head, there is a huge book on of Hebrew poetry, not just from the Bible. But this has been a device of early Hebrew writers. It's a form of soft repetition. Now what happens is there are two clauses and they resemble each other, but they're not identical, but they mean the same thing. Now this is called hendiadys. Two things put for one thing meant. It's a literary term. We do it in speech as well for emphasis. I gave her a right telling off, I did. I stripped her down, I can tell you. Two things. That was hendiadys. And it was also grammatical parallelism. Two things running along the same kind of grammatical structure. And this is how we should understand this here in Job 38:7. The morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy. It's a parallelism. Now I'll give you some other examples in the Bible of parallelism. Psalm 69:25. Let their palace be desolate. Let nobody be living in their tents. Right, desolate, nobody living, palace and tents. Two clauses mean the same result. Job 18:5. The light of the lawless will be extinguished, and the spark of his fire will not blaze. And in the immediate context of our passage, the very verse before Job 38:7. On what are its sockets sunk, or who laid its cornerstones? Two things, meaning the same. Job 38:9. When I made the cloud its garment and thick darkness a blanket for it. This device of soft repetition occurs again and again in the Word of God. So the morning stars singing together, exhibiting the glory of God's creation, means just the same thing as the sons of God shouted for joy. This is metaphor, personification, parallelism, hendiadys, all these devices in one verse. And there's more. Sons of God is another phrase for the stars by parallelism, and to call them that is the device called kenning. Now that device of kenning is typical in the great Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf. Oh, it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of literature, one of the great poetical literary works of English alongside Chaucer and Shakespeare. It's that great. And if anybody wants to read it, I recommend the translation by Michael Alexander. Get that one. So we have other examples of this in the book of Job and elsewhere, this kenning. Job 5:7, sons of the flame, in Hebrew Ben Resheph, meaning sparks. As sparks fly upwards, man is born for trouble. Job 28, verse 8, put for lions, sons of the pride. This is called kenning. Lamentations 3:13, sons of the quiver. What does that mean? Arrows. These are all devices, kenning. So the word sons in Job 38, verse 7, line 2, are not literal offspring. Sons of God, shouted for joy, are stars. So the Bible is no exception to other great literary works like Chaucer, Shakespeare and Beowulf. It's full of literary and language devices. There is a difference between literary and language devices, but never mind that. Dr. E.W. Bullinger, I mentioned earlier, in his book Figures of Speech Used in the Bible, 1898, emphasizes 217 devices and, exemplifies, gives examples of and explains them. Absolutely magnificent literary work. Figures of Speech Used in the Bible. Big fat book, as big as the Keys of the Kingdom Bible. In Isaiah, we see the king of Babylon, the disgraced king, described as a fallen star. And here we have a star described as a rejoicing person, a sort of reversal of astral imagery. In the king of Babylon, a person, a fallen star. In Job, a star, a rejoicing, described as a rejoicing person. Objection. Nowhere else in the Bible are stars referred to as sons. In Isaiah 14:12, the disgraced king of Babylon is likened to a fallen star, a star fallen to the ground, metaphor, but who had been a shining star, son of the morning. That son of the morning is Venus. There is another example in the Bible of stars being described as a sun. And in that phrase, we have son of the morning in Isaiah 14:12. We have a word from each of the clauses in Job 38:7, morning and sun, the morning stars and the sons of God. And here we have son of the morning, the two words. And Isaiah 14 is disgracefully translated in some of the church system Bibles. So both images, morning stars and sons of God, are poetical by parallelism and personification and hendiadys and kenning. They're both stars, representing stars, exhibiting the glory of God. The creation of the stars is described at Genesis 1:14 and 15. And God said, "Let there be light bearers in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for light bearers in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." Everywhere in the Bible, sons of God are God's people, except at Job 38, verse 7. That is the only exception. And that is why the lowercase for sons in Job 38, verse 7. And finally for you, one more device of parallelism, which I particularly like. Job 41:19. From his mouth burning torches blaze, sparks of fire fly out. So I hope sparks of fire have flown out today. Right, thank you for listening, and please put your comments. I always enjoy seeing comments, and please, if you like, click like, and please subscribe to this channel if you like these videos, and hope to see you again very soon. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Amen.